Unlimited Possibilities presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, four-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Pamela Reece. A little bit about her. Pam Reece is the author of the book, I Chose the Good, Turning Adversity into Advantage, her personal memoir that details her growing up and rising from a home of severe dysfunctionality and adversity. Pam's book goes into great length of how she was a victim to abandonment, alcoholism, family secrets, verbal abuse, sexual molestation, and personal strongholds. Her story talks of overcoming low self-esteem, anger, and unforgiveness through the love and healing power of God. It's a remarkable account of redemption, but also offers takeaways and advice on how to overcome difficulties and turn them into an advantage. Her message is simple yet profound and has a twofold message, which says that everything you triumphed over was necessary for the fulfillment of your purpose and destiny in the earth. And second, if you're still alive after the adversity and hardship, you're to repurpose it and help someone else. Pam has appeared on many radio shows such as Keisha George's I Worship 96 FM, LaBoo Publishing, Transcending Horizons, and magazine features such as Headline News and Upward. Pam just recently appeared on the Dreamer and You show hosted by Dr. Keisha George on the Dominion TV Network. Pam's book, I Choose the Good, Turning Adversity into Advantage, is a powerful, transparent story of triumph. The book is available on Amazon.com. Welcome to the table, the amazing Pamela Reece.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You are welcome. I'm excited to have you at the table, and I know my listeners have heard your amazing bio. So please tell us more about your entrepreneur journey. After
I've been working in corporate America for quite some time, realizing that, it's not, it satisfies some things for me, but not all. It's nice to work in corporate America and go after doing the 9 to 5, but I know deep down inside that I was made for more. And I love, I wanted the ability to, and so I decided, I could start with writing my book. I could start with doing some other things. I've got some projects in the pipeline that I'm working on right now. But it's so important that, especially if you know that you have the gifts that, God has lent to you and given to you to be a blessing to the world and to humanity, that, we can't hold them to ourselves, but we need to just launch out and do what's inside of us so that there's no regrets at the end. So I started with my book.
I love that. And
yeah.
Thank you for stepping out and doing it, right? And stepping out and following your dreams and stepping out of your comfort zone. I can't wait to see all the great things that you're about to birth.
Yes, I'm so excited. So many doors have opened already, but the best is yet to come. I have a radio interview next. It's at the end of this month at Atlanta Live. That's TV, actually. And then there's another radio interview coming up in Atlanta as well. So the doors are opening, so I'm so glad. So God is so faithful.
Yes, He is. And I can't wait to continue to see all the great things that He's going to do in your life.
Yes.
So you're very passionate, Pamela, about helping people overcome difficulties and turning them into advantages. So please tell our listeners more about your passion.
Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit about, my growing up. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, and came from a traditional setting, mother and father that were churchgoers. But then after my father left, our lives kind of went south in the sense of just a totally different direction. And so with that, my mother being a single mom, she resorted to alcoholism, just, the drinking, the partying, and what have you. We were just little kids, just exposed to all of this stuff. We were mixing, at a very, very young age, we were mixing drinks for visitors and partiers and going to the vending machines at the corner stores to pick up cigarettes. And in the midst of all that, just exposed to some men that were very, very touchy and, just some things, that I was exposed to. My innocence just snatched away from me at a very, very young age. Not quite sure how to define it. I couldn't define it at that point in time because, we lived in an era where, we didn't talk. We lived in a house where, you could be going through hell and high water, but there was no outlet to discuss it, to describe what was going on in the heart. Even if you asked questions, they were just immediately dismissed. We went from, the alcoholism to abandonment where, if the parties weren't going on at our house, they were going on at somebody else's house, and so my mom would leave us on occasion. For several days, she would be gone. So we were little kids growing up in that atmosphere where, locked up in a room with some food, and some things to drink, but after a while those things would run out, and we found ourselves, yelling out the window and, neighbors telling us to make sure that we stayed inside, asking us where our mother was. Eventually, my brother and sister that were twins were taken away from us by the state because my mother was judged as an unfit mother. She managed to keep the older and the oldest and the youngest. I was the oldest of the four, and my youngest brother. Later on, we moved. We lost our home. We lived on the south end of Boston in an area that is, it's too expensive to live there right now, and the average home is running about $5 million. We moved from that house and we moved to a small town just a district outside of Boston called Dorchester. And from there, we just moved from house to house. But at the tender age of 10, I was one night after a summer outing, family outing, I was raped by one of my mother's live-in boyfriends just at the age of 10. And severely traumatized by that in the sense where I was having nightmares. I held these secrets for so many years, so angry, full of unforgiveness and bitterness that my mom could put me in harm's way. It so happens that I held on to that secret for about 30 years. But God knew that I needed healing. And one Saturday, I ended up at a prayer meeting. And actually, it was a conference, and there was a prayer line, and there was a woman of God there that was ministering that morning. And she said she called for people that wanted prayer. So, I thought about it and finally made up my mind to go ahead and get prayer. And I noticed she prayed for everybody right on the spot. But when she came up to me, it was my turn. She asked me to step aside until she had finished praying for everybody else in the line. So I was a little offended by that, but it was all in the plan of God because when she finally got to me, she was able to address the unforgiveness issues in my heart. And this woman was really moving. She was really moving in the spirit because she knew that, God told her that I had problems with my mother. And so she asked me directly, and she said, she told me directly, she said, you have to forgive your mother. And immediately I began to melt. There was rage, there was fury, there was anger, and tears, just unbelievable, because it was the first time in a long time that I had really cried the way I did. But that was God just arresting me and just wanting to pour some oil on my wounds and heal me, just totally heal. It didn't happen all that night. It was the beginning of my healing journey. So those are some of the things. I also went through a lot of strongholds, but I want to, if you want to ask more questions, you can go ahead. But I just wanted to just pause for a minute to see if you had anything else to say.
Awesome. You definitely have a powerful story that, readers can listen to and relate to if they've been going through it. And I just want to commend you for stepping out and sharing your story, right?
Yes,
Because a lot of people don't, they keep that hidden. And I know you spoke about, you came out from a family that, you really can share things with, right? A lot of family secrets. So why do you think that's so in some families? Because I see that, if you do research, that's normal. It's not normal, but you see that a lot in, in African-American families, So you want to speak more about that?
Yes, I do. I am of the personal persuasion that family secrets go back to the time when we were enslaved, when we were under the taskmaster's ownership, and secrets would happen right there where we were taken advantage of, and we could not talk, we couldn't speak. And I think that us not speaking and communicating about things going on in our hearts, things that are going on in our minds and experiences, things that we had to experience, whether they were normal or whether they were wrong, and many cases so wrong, we were silenced. And I think that perpetrated right through generations. It just perpetrated, and so we've lived like that. I don't know about anybody else's family, but it has perpetrated through my family for a very, very long time. And I decided that it was time to talk, because talking is the first step to healing, is getting it out into the open and being, just confronting the issue. It is such a burden lifter. It relieves you of so much pressure when you're able to just tell what's going on in your heart. And even though it may cause an uproar, at least it's out in the open and it's not underneath the carpet anymore.
Absolutely. And for our listeners that are listening that may have experienced, any type of, sexual molestation or any type of abandonment, anything that Pamela is talking about, definitely share your story, because your story is powerful. Your story can open up more doors. Your story, somebody needs to hear your story. So thank you, Pamela, and congratulations on your new book. Super congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So let's talk more about I Choose the Good. I know you talked a lot about it, with what we just said, but what more, other than, the things that you went through that inspired you, but what are some other things that, that stood out to you when you were writing your book? What are some feelings that you experienced? Did it kind of take you back down memory lane with some chapters? Can you talk more about it?
Yeah. So the book chronicles, it's when you read the book, it starts off with my beginnings, So I talk about, I was born, my parents, I go through, what my parents may have been thinking about when I was born. I talk about, the fun times also about growing up, as kids I was born in 64, so we talk about, growing up in the late 60s, early 70s, and how different our world was back then versus now. So I spend a lot of time talking about my church experiences because, my parents were churchgoers. We spent our time in the Apostolic Pentecostal churches as well as Baptist, and growing up in the Baptist church, we learned about time. We learned about, practice and rehearsals. We're going to make everything perfect, for whatever you plan for. And just the order and the synchronization of what went on in the church service, and things that just resonate and just continue to stay with me now. Songs that we sang, scriptures that we read that, I remember as a child, and how deep and how precious and how beautiful those memories still linger with me now. One of the reasons why I chose the topic, I chose the good, is because, it does address a lot of bad things that I went through, but through the healing power of God, the love of God, I've been able to look back now from a place of healing, And I am graced to tell the story now because I couldn't tell it some years ago. I am graced now because the power of God has healed me and delivered me from so many strongholds. But I use that title because I can filter through and I can find a lot of good versus the bad things. And so sometimes, we can become so bitter and so full of unforgiveness and so angry and not wanting to give anybody a chance, or we'll blame society, or we'll blame the white race, or we'll blame this one or that one. I decided that, despite everything that I went through, there was some good out of all of those experiences. And so that's why I chose the topic. I also talk about, some strongholds that I went through. I had a serious stronghold of stealing. I was a serious shoplifter, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, years of age. I just had a terrible stronghold where, I loved God, but I could go into a store, my sister and I, and this is something that my mother had taught us, where we could go into a store and we could steal everything that we wanted. And we had no fear. We had a strategy. We'd go in downtown and we'd wait until the clearance, until the seasons were over. And at the end of the season, there's a huge clearance sale, getting rid of the old inventory to bring in the new inventory. And so, we didn't have the internet like we have now, but we'd look through the papers and we would strategize on how we would go downtown and do our thing and steal and come back with all these goodies and everything. But one day, God had a plan for me, and He confronted me about my stronghold. I remember I had scooped up a bag of clothes from Filene's basement. This woman shopper that was shopping, and she turned her back, and I scooped up her bag, and I took her bag and took those clothes home and tried them on, and I realized I was saying to myself, oh man, God is so good. I've got these clothes on, and God knew my size, and one day I was standing in church and I was worshiping with tears coming down my eyes, with my hands lifted up, just worshiping God, and then it dawned on me that I'm worshiping in clothes that I had stolen, and God began to deal with my heart. He began to deal with my heart. So little by little, I went through a process of remembering, that stealing is wrong, and that, I was arrested too, so that even helped as well. I didn't go to jail, but I was arrested. So, God had a way of saying, listen, I love you, and I'm going to go through whatever it takes to make sure that you know how much I love you, because I got a plan and I got a purpose for you. So those are some of the things that I went through. I also went through, just very, very low self-esteem, because, if your parent is telling you that you're ugly, that you're not going to amount to anything, if it's your parent, you believe that person. You believe that person. So I wore that on my sleeve. I very, very low self-esteem. I dealt with comparison issues, so many issues that I dealt with. But and I carried a lot of those into my adulthood. Carried a lot into the adulthood, so that if you don't know your value, you can choose the wrong man, marry the wrong man, and then you'll be sorry for it later on because you don't know your value. So I went through a divorce as well. So the book has so many stories, has so much to offer for whatever somebody has been through. I think I've been through it all, if not all, then quite a bit. And it's and it also ends with takeaways. It also ends with, not just telling the story, but I also, talk about, what could have happened had not God, intervened and healed me. And then I give takeaways on, addressing issues and getting the counseling that you need if you've been raped, if you've been sexually molested, the importance of talking to somebody, the importance of therapy, the importance of forgiving and letting go and starting all over and turning the page and starting a new chapter, and how important it is to have healthy relationships, healthy friends that really care about you and want to see you move forward in life. So the book is full of nuggets, full of golden nuggets. Anybody can read it, and they will be certainly empowered and blessed by it.
Yes, it's definitely full of nuggets, and you hit some amazing points, Pamela. So kudos to that. Like, the importance of therapy, people don't want to talk about that. And, even healthy people go to therapy. So did you want to enlighten on that a little bit more?
Yes. So I did go for counseling because I realized that I couldn't heal myself. But the beauty about counseling is that, counselors are trained to heal. They're trained to heal, whether they're secular or whether they have gone through Christian schools or Christian training. The base is the foundation is that they are trained to listen to your story, to dissect, to help you to come to a conclusion about why some things happened and what steps you need to take in order to begin to live, to have healthy thoughts, and to begin to live a better life, a step in the right direction. And so while at first I said, I don't want to go to counseling, and that was my pride. And I think a lot of people, say that they don't want to go to counseling, and they'll throw it out the door because, pride, you don't want anybody to know about your personal business. But God put counselors on the earth, and the Bible also says that there is a safety in a multitude of counselors. And so I was able to go, and I went. I took advantage of it, and I'd sit down and talk, and layers and layers of unforgiveness and hurt and grudges and bitterness and everything. All the dark things began to unfold, and I walked out feeling lighter. And the therapy was wonderful because we go through exercises where, I would talk to the person, like the counselor we do role playing, and I would talk to the counselor like, that was the man that violated me that night, and I would explain, or I express in my heart how I felt, and it felt so good to release it and let it go. And so painful, whatever, it was one of the best things that I could have ever done. So it's so important. Don't throw away the idea of getting counseling. Don't throw it away. Definitely go and get some counseling. If you've been through trauma of any kind, the first step to healing, to getting the healing that you need, is opening up and talking and taking a leap of faith to trust someone with your personal drama or trauma or secrets or injuries. There's healing in therapy.
That is so correct. And, the healthy relationships is important too, and that forgiving. So everything that you're touching on in your book, Pam, I'm definitely sure listeners, you can relate to everybody. Everybody can relate to at least one chapter, right? Because,
exactly.
Everything that you're hitting on is so important to getting to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing your story and, being able to help as many people, step out of their comfort zones and actually, tell their story. So what do you want readers to get from your book, though? Once they read it, what do you want them to get from it?
I want them to, first of all, I want older people, like, okay, I'll tell you my age. I'm 55. I want people that are older, that are in my age group, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, that, it doesn't mean that you haven't done anything with your life. And then it may be that you haven't, that you have done something. You've made some accomplishments in life. And then I'm talking also to the audience that hasn't done anything. That it's not too late. That as long as you've got a pulse, then God can work with you. You can pull out those dreams and get going on them. So I'm talking to that audience. So there are those people. I'm also talking to men and women that have been violated in any way, whether sexually, verbally, physically, that there's healing, that you don't have to live with your pain. You don't have to function in your dysfunction. God wants you totally whole. He wants you whole in every arena. And if he can do it for me, then he can do it for you. I can talk to those people who have dealt with strongholds, So I talk a little bit about, even after I'd gone through a divorce, and when you don't know your value, when your parents and your father and mother didn't sit down and talk to you and tell you how beautiful you were, or to tell you what to expect in a husband or a spouse, a wife or a husband, then you will choose anything. So I want to talk to those who have been through a divorce. It is not the end of the road. I am married again, and I have married to the love of my life, and God has blessed me and graced me again, and it is so wonderful. So I'm talking to those people too. I'm talking to people that have been through that. You may have some strongholds like stealing, or maybe you're dealing with alcohol. These are issues, that people are going to church, they're raising their hands, and they love God, but you got problems and you need deliverance. I'm going to tell you that I walked down that road, and if God can heal me and if God can deliver me, then he can deliver you. So there's so many, there's so many stories, there's so many nuggets, there's so much treasure in the book that anybody can read it and get something out of it. I'm also talking to those people that you have gone to school, and maybe you want to go back to school. I did the same thing. I stopped for a while and then I went back. I changed professions. I went through a bankruptcy. I lost a house and then I got another one. So, the book goes through all of that. So there's so many new beginnings in all of this. There's so many things that God has done. There's so many testimonies of, how I started from zero and then I skyrocketed. And so the possibilities, the stories and the morale, the stories that you can come out of it, the morals that you can come out from this book are endless. So anybody can read it, and anybody can walk away saying, oh, my God, if this one person went through all of this and has done this, then I can do it too, and I can do better. So it's a treasure. It's an absolute treasure. And it took me a while to do it, but I did it, and I am so proud and so grateful to God that I'm alive and well, and I can see the fruit of my labor. So,
yeah. Awesome, amazing. So what are some strategies you would give to, because I know your way of relieving, things that you went through was writing a book, right? Because you had to get it off your chest, right? So what are some other ways that you healed, right? Because what are some strategies you would give to listeners who have went through abandonment, sexual molestation, some of the different things that you encountered? What are some strategies you would give them in order to, take those next steps towards their healing process? Because writing was part of yours, but what are some other things that you would give to listeners who writing might not be the way, but they still would like to, get some relief and stop holding it in and hiding it because it's only making it worse, right? If you're not, getting help.
Right. So if you're not a writer, like for me, I had to be totally healed in order to write this book, because I'm graced to tell about it now. If maybe like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to write it, because it was painful. 15 years ago, it was still painful for me to even talk about it. So it's still going through the healing journey. But I would recommend that if anybody has been through this and, and you're not a writer, you don't feel like you are graced to write a book, you can start a journal, and you can write down your feelings. I would encourage somebody that's going through something like this to get around people or surround yourself with healthy relationships. Healthy relationships meaning people that are going to be able to accept you for who you are. They're not going to judge you, and they're going to be willing to listen to you and also provide good, sound advice on next steps to your healing journey. And this is something, so you don't need to be in a church to do this, but, for people that are just listening and they don't, they know that they need help, then that's one of the best things to do, is to just surround yourself around healthy people. If you surround yourself around people that are still struggling, that you're just going to go down with them. So it's important to talk to people who love you genuinely, who definitely care about your future and care about your happiness, and they can help you to get to your next level just by listening and then by providing advice on whether you need to go to therapy, get some counseling, or just talking about it. Maybe there are several help groups. There are several organizations out there where you can go and sit down in a circle and you can just talk and talk and talk. And everybody, your business is totally confidential. There are also avenues where if you're in an area and you need you want to try something new, whatever, I would encourage you to take the step, to don't be afraid, because, fear is one of those things that just keeps us back, and the next thing you know, another year has gone by, and then another year, and then another year, and then you realize that you're not getting younger, you're getting older. It's important that, you bite the bullet and take a step in the direction where you want to go. And don't be afraid of failing, and don't be afraid of falling, because there's a possibility that you will fall and that you will fail. But if you get back up and try again, you will soon enough see success. You'll see the end of what you're going after. So it's so important that to remember that God, when Jesus went to the cross, He went for our sins. He went for everything that we were going to go through, past, present, and future. And His desire is that we be whole in every arena, nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. He wants us completely whole. And if once you get a hold of that, once you get that revelation, then something begins to stir on the inside, and immediately the healing process begins. And so, is it hard work? Is it something that you need to work at? Is it something that you need to that you're going to be have to be consistent in? Yes, absolutely. But if you are dedicated, and if you are passionate, and if you definitely desire to be whole, then that's some of the advice that I would give the audience.
Excellent advice, excellent wisdom of nuggets to help listeners who might be going through some of these different moments, different things that you've experienced, because it takes a strong person to step out and actually talk about it and actually say they need help. And it's so important, like you said, that you vent to the right people, right? Because if you vent to the wrong person, it will go another way, and we have to be careful that we actually go get expert help, help from people that are licensed in, what we need to do as far as counseling and therapy and stuff, because, when you're going to talk to your cousin or whoever, they're going to give you their opinion, right? And so it's just so important, because when you're in that state of mind, I know you can definitely relate. When you're in that state of mind, you're very vulnerable, right? So you really don't really know what to do, and it's kind of more vulnerable to actually go that route, because you're so you haven't healed, and you seeking help, and you're willing to get it sometimes from anybody. So could you talk more about that, Pamela?
Yes. So it's so important that you surround yourself with healthy people that aren't. I'm not saying that healthy people don't have flaws and that they don't have imperfections, but they are dedicated, and they are dedicated to seeing you healthy and happy in your life. And they're not selfish. They're not pulling you down. But when you have a success, they celebrate you. And when you're having a down moment, they're not throwing a knife in your back, but they're concerned about you overcoming and overcoming whatever struggle it is, and making sure that you move to your next level. It's important for me. I know that I had to surround myself. First of all, you do have to make yourself vulnerable. But, when you are around good people that really care about you, and you've built a level of trust, then you can be vulnerable enough to tell them about what you've gone through. And that was one of the healing processes for me, was to just tell, somebody that, really cared. And I'll tell you something, it wasn't easy the first time. As a matter of fact, they had a hard time with me. But finally, I realized that these people really cared about my personal deliverance, because when I say I may have tapped into a lot of things, I tried cigarettes, I tried alcohol, I was in church, and I'd come home after a Friday evening, just tired from working in corporate for so long. I would have a glass of wine, and by 11 or 12 o'clock that night, I will have had the entire bottle of wine. So by the time I went to bed, I was still drunk. I even explored pornography, so for a short time. So, and then I was a single mom. So I was, one day it just dawned on me that I was sort of kind of like turning into what my mother was. And I didn't like that. And so, these friends, I carried that with me for a long time. But these friends of mine, just a small circle, that they had to earn my trust. And then when I knew that I could trust them, and when I knew that they really loved me, and that I didn't have to buy their love, I didn't have to give them any money, I didn't have to buy their attention, I didn't have to try to measure up to them. I just needed to just embrace, just receive the love. Then I knew that I could talk to them. That's when I did, and that's where the healing process began. I also found myself in a good church where, people were, I'd hear good messages. I heard messages about the love of God, and the love of. There was a preacher in our church that spent a lot of time. He had a special anointing to talk about the love of God. And I remember sitting there hearing him over and over and over again. He had a great revelation on God's love, unconditional, undeniable, indisputable love of God. And he'd say, he'd have us say, God loves me with an undying, never failing, unconditional love, and that love is to do me good and to make me happy. One day, after saying that for so many times, something clicked in, and immediately I began to cry. Tears coming down my face like a river. God was healing me. God was doing something on the inside. How many times had I said that? How many times had I confessed that? Immediately it began to take a root on the inside of me, and the healing process began. But it's so important when you're going through this that you're not alone, that you're with somebody to hold your hand, that's going to be patient with you, that's going to love you no matter what, whether you're having a tantrum, whether you don't want to be bothered with them, because there were times that I didn't want to be bothered with anybody, but I realized that, we were never made to be islands. We all need each other, and being connected is definitely a part of God's plan, and that we are all better together than we are apart. I accepted that. It was a hard lesson because I'd rather be isolated, and I love the familiarity of being in a home where there was no drama going on. I can control that, but God wanted me to get outside of my surroundings because he had more. So it is a walk of trust. It is a walk of faith. It is a walk of being vulnerable. It's a walk of just trusting that God has a greater plan than you can imagine, and then embracing it and allowing it to happen.
Love it. So for our listeners that are listening, Pam has shared some amazing nuggets and wisdom tonight to help, all of our listeners who might be facing different, traumatic situations or adversity, that you can overcome it, right? That it is ways out, and that the first step is just taking that first step, right? Whether it's
Absolutely.
a baby step or a big step, but it's just taking the step and sharing your story and being open to, getting help and seeking help. So thank you, Pam, for sharing your amazing book, sharing, your wisdom and knowledge. So what I normally ask all of my guests, and I know you are continuing to create your seat at the table. How did you create your seat at the table?
I decided that I created my own seat by saying I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. I realized that I had, I believe everybody has a story to tell. And I believe that my story was one that should not have been kept a secret and should not have been kept unwritten. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make myself vulnerable. I'm going to tell it because it's the truth and it's my story. It's my life. And so I began to journal and tell it. I would tell people, and they'd say, "You need to write a book." I finally embraced it, and began the journey, began the process, and it has so far been an amazing journey. It's been an amazing journey. I believe that this book is definitely material for a movie. It's definitely material for panel discussions and conferences, and there's so much that can come out of this book. I believe that people, once they pick it up, they're going to see that, man, one person went through all of this. I guess there's something in me that I need to get out as well. And so, the first step is to just take a step. Take a step and just believe that you can and just do it. And just absolutely do it, because we've all been given gifts. We've all been given gifts. And the Bible says that the gifts are without repentance. In other words, they're going to be with you for the rest of your life. The thing is that what are you going to do with it? And the gifts were never about you in the first place. The gifts are about meeting somebody else's needs. That's what the gifts are for. And so once you decide to move in those gifts and to exercise those gifts, the Bible then says that your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great men. And so, I am more than grateful to God that I have this opportunity to tell it. And the adversity, yes. Was it painful? Yes. Did it take me a while to get through some things? Yes. Did I cry? Yes. There's so many areas where did I punish myself? Yes. I used to slap myself in the mirror because I hated myself so bad. I went through so much. Why am I going to keep, and now that I'm healed, why am I going to keep it to myself? How many other people are going through the same thing and have never read this story before? Once they read it, they're going to go, oh my God, so many things resonate with me. And have delivered me. And thank you for telling your story. Thank you for being brave enough to tell your story. So, yes, you create your own seat at the table. You don't wait on anybody. Create your own seat. Create your own chair. Create your own table. We are creative people because that's how we were made. God created us to be creative.
Absolutely. I love that. So what did failure teach you on your journey?
I'm sorry?
What did failure teach you on your journey?
What did failure teach me?
Uh-huh.
So failure taught me that I have an option. I can either wallow in the failure or I can get back up and try again. And if you look around and you take a look at the people that have succeeded, you will also know that a lot of them most of them, all of them have failed at one point in time in their life, in their career, in their journey, in their craft, in their calling. They have all failed. They have all failed. So the Bible says that a righteous man will fall many times, but also get back up. So that's what I've learned. I've learned that, yes, it's going to come, but you know what? I'm going to take a look and see, like, what could I do better this time that I didn't do the last time, you know? I'll tell you something. When I first wrote this book, by the way, this is a relaunch. When I first wrote the book, you know, I wrote it. I was so passionate about getting it out, but it didn't have the traction that it's getting now. And so I got a mentor this time. And my mentor said, this is what you need to do. You need to get a professional photo shot, shoot, done. You need to go to my people and let my people do your book, and then you need to start doing your marketing ahead of time. So the first time I failed, I knew it was so good. Actually, I knew that this was an amazing book, but it just wasn't getting the attention. Now, I've already had a TV appearance. Just from that big setback, I started all over again. And yes, I lost some money, and it didn't, it wasn't properly formatted. It was this and that. But you know what? Now I got the help that I needed, and it's a gorgeous book cover. It's beautifully formatted. It is just absolutely amazing. And I've been on so many radio shows. I'm doing a radio interview, a live one in person on Saturday. I'm doing another one at the end of this month, and also another TV appearance. Yes, I failed the first time, but I'm not giving up. And so whoever's out there that's listening, you just can't give up. You just can't. And what if you throw in the towel? Do you want to be sitting on your porch when you're 85 and 90 years old with all these regrets about what you could have and what you should have done? No. You want to do it right. And so what if you fail? Learn from your failures and get back up and start all over again. Take note of what you did wrong and do it right the next time. And watch God bless it.
Absolutely. I love that. And what did success teach you, Pamela?
I'm sorry?
What did success teach you?
Success has made me humble. It's also taught me that, if you want anything good in life, if you ever want to see, you ever going to create something and put everything into it, then it's hard work. That's what it's taught me, is that it's hard work. You have to be determined when the sun is shining and when it isn't, when hurdles come, when doors are closed in your face, when nobody's paying you any attention. You still have to grind. You still have to work. You still have to believe that what you're doing is going to make a great contribution to society, and that people are going to love it, and it's going to bless somebody, and that it's not about you, it's about somebody else. The success has been humbling. Not in my wildest dreams would I ever. I used to imagine being an anchor woman when I was a kid, and I remember one of my teachers telling me, I had written something, and she told me, she goes, "There's just no way you want to be an anchor woman. There's no way it's going to happen." And so that one was flushed down the toilet for me. But look at what God has done. He's a redeemer. This is a story of redemption. Maybe I'm not an anchor woman, but I'm on TV and I'm telling my story, and that is more than enough for me. So, yeah.
Amazing. So what can we expect from you, Pamela, the rest of 2019? We're walking into quarter 4. So what can we expect from you? I know you're going to finish the year strong.
Yes, I am. I'm definitely finishing the year strong. I've got some more interviews coming up. I am going to be joining a panel here in Boston networking with a team here in Boston because I'm really so passionate about the community. And so we are working with, just networking together. A lot of us are just multi-talented people that are going to be coming together, joining our resources to help young people, especially African Americans, take a step on materializing, creating their dreams and getting their dreams going. And so I'm so excited about that. There's a seminar that's happening at the end of the month. I won't be a part of that one, but in the months ahead, I am definitely passionate about helping and being a part of that network and helping people just go for their dreams. There's so much. We're such a talented people. We have so much within us. And, somebody helped me, so I want to help somebody else. So we're definitely working on that. We also have there's a conference coming up. We're still in the beginning stages, but coming up in the spring of 2020, where we're going to be dealing with issues of unforgiveness. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking to people who have been sexually molested. We got a panel of speakers, guests who have gone through similar tragedies and have come out on top on the other side. And so we're going to have a big collaboration there. So we're hoping that, we're not just going to talk about it, but we're also going to, just pray with people and help them get delivered so that they can go forward in their lives and in what God has for them. So there's a ton of things that are happening. I've also got some more books in the pipeline. I have at least 2 or 3. One, I don't think I'll be pushing out anything book-wise for the rest of 2019, but definitely for 2020, there are 2 that are in the pipeline for 2020. So tons and tons of things that are in the pipeline, and it is so exciting. It's amazing, to any writer that's out there. Once you get started, the creative juices begin to flow. So you writers out there, get going.
Yes. So super congratulations, Pam, on all of the great things that you have going on. I know you're going to finish it strong with, especially I know you connected to Dr. Keishma George, and she's amazing as well. So I know you have some great people in your corner, and congratulations on your radio interviews, TV interviews, the other books that you're getting ready to birth. All of this came through a setback, right? That's why it's important for us listeners not to quit. Rest, but not quit.
Right on.
Rest,
right
but
on.
not quit. Yes.
Right on.
So please tell our listeners how they can follow you on all social media platforms.
Okay. So I am on Facebook. You can find me at Pam Reece Motivates, or just look up Pamela Reece. You'll find me on Facebook. On Instagram at Pamela Reece 2, and on Instagram at Pamela Reece 2. I am very active on social media. I'll probably be going live again on Saturday, right before I go into. I've got a radio interview with Gospel Connection here in Boston at Northeastern University. So I'll be there at about 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. So I'll be going live right before that. So definitely connect with me. Also, my website is pamreece.net. You can connect with me there. Please join our mailing list for all the upcoming things that are happening. Just connect. Let's just make the world a better place, and let's just do this thing. There's so much that needs to be done. Let's just do it.
Yes, so please follow and support Pamela. She's definitely somebody to know and somebody to be connected to. So, Pamela, thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come to the table. This has been an amazing and powerful interview, and I cannot wait to invite you back to the table.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ashley. I appreciate the opportunity, and may your ministry and what you're doing, may it blossom all the more. There's a scripture in Deuteronomy 1:11 that says, may the Lord bless you 1,000 times more. So I speak that over you.
Thank you so much, Pamela. Thank you so much. And many hugs and blessings to you as well. And I can't wait to see all of the great things that you're going to continue to do.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too. So I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Collins-Marquis and John Schamberger. I would also like to give a special thanks to Dr. Keishma George and author Kimberly McLemore. and my intern, Sarah, from Tennessee State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.